Good evening and welcome to Money Magazine. I'm Alan Booknia. There are calls for the $400 monthly levy paid by employers of foreign domestic helpers to be scrapped. This comes even from people who pushed for the levy when it was imposed in October 2003. The money that's been collected, however, had been tied up because of a lawsuit challenging the levy. And producer Stephen Lee finds that it's only now starting to be used.
Now it stands at $4 billion. Does the government need to continue to collect the levy?
So it is not the money of the employer, it is the money of the migrant workers.
No, the money doesn't belong to them. It belongs to the employers.
Harry has been working for John Wong as a domestic helper for 3 years. He pays her $3,480 a month. On top of that, John has to pay a levy of $400 a month to the Hong Kong government.
I have paid a total sum of $14,400 in the past 3 years. I think the cost of levy is too expensive compared with the salary of the helper. Of course, it's low fare. I cannot understand why I have to pay an extra sum to train local workers. If the government thinks the training to local workers is necessary, all the Hong Kong taxpayers should bear the responsibility together. Why only us?
During the economic downturn of 2003, the government slashed foreign domestic helpers' minimum wage by $400 to $3,270 a month and made employers pay $400 into the public coffers to be used by the Employees Retraining Board. Joseph Law, who represents the employers, says they're being unfairly targeted under the Employees Retraining Ordinance that came into effect in 1992.
One can easily see that the original intent of the ordinance was not aimed at the employers of foreign domestic workers. It was aimed at those consortium companies who imported a large number of foreign construction workers, and they made billions of dollars and take away from Hong Kong to build all the airports and the bridges.
The levy on hiring foreign domestic helpers accumulated to $4.2 billion by early February, but the money was tied up due to a lawsuit. That was settled in 2006. But it wasn't until Chief Executive Donald Tsang's October policy address that the money was freed up for the ERB, which started using it in December. Before that, the ERB had relied on $400 million in recurrent annual funding. It offers courses to about 100,000 people above the age of 30. They're trained in domestic chores, personal care, and massage.
The primary target of the board is those unemployed people and the disadvantaged groups in terms of their competitiveness. Through retraining, we equip them with the skills to rejoin the workforce.
Poon says with the more than $4 billion from the foreign domestic helper levy, the board can expand.
We have relaxed the eligibility criteria for the Employees Retraining Scheme starting from 1st of December last year to cover people aged 15 or above.
The board will take in 150,000 instead of the current 100,000 trainees a year and start to offer other courses such as nursing and information technology. The new plan will cost about $1.2 billion annually, up from the previous $400 million budget. Legislator Selina Chow is with the Liberal Party, which pushed for the levy in 2003. Now she wonders if the tax is being used in the right way.
Why would they want to spend 3 times that to train perhaps a marginally more number of people. We just don't feel that this is the right way to use the levy. Now, we are talking about a 3.4% unemployment at this point in time.
We believe it is more effective to prevent unemployment. It is also said that because of the sublime mortgage crisis in the United States, the unemployment situation may deteriorate in future, so opportunities are for the prepared.
Selina Chow thinks the levy should be dropped altogether.
The government told everybody that, it was in fact suffering from, a very bad economy way back in 2003. Now that the government is in much better shape, the people who were asked to foot the bill at the time, to help the government out, should actually be relieved of that burden.
The Employers of Domestic Helpers Association met with the government last year about the levy.
All we ask the government to do is to stop the levy immediately on the employers of foreign domestic helpers. But unfortunately, the government would not change its, stand.
In a written reply, the Labour and Welfare Bureau, which enforces the levy, says,
while the economic situation has improved in recent years, we still face problems of economic restructuring and manpower mismatch. The government needs to ensure that the local workforce receives suitable training and retraining in order to enhance their employability.
But why should the onus fall only on employers of foreign domestic helpers and imported workers to pay for this?
It is the established policy of the government that employers who benefit from the importation of low-skilled labor should contribute to the training and retraining of local workers.
Once government decides to collect anything, it is not easy to get them to sort of, abolish. I think that government every year should be re-examining whether they need to continue to collect certain levy or certain tax for a certain purpose when they don't need it anymore.
Legislator Lee Cheuk-yan, however, is hopeful the government will change its stance.
We have already a consensus on abolishing the tax, so it's a good step forward already. So I think we should discuss in LegCo after abolishing the tax how the money should return to the people concerned.
There is debate as to whether there should be a corresponding increase in foreign domestic helpers' minimum salaries. Annie Lestari from the Philippines has been working in Hong Kong for 8 years.
We believe that levy is a discrimination against the migrant workers because the crisis in the 2002 and 2003 is not because of us, but seems that we are blamed. And therefore, our salary should be reduced because we have to share the burden. So we believe that the levy is coming from our salary.
It's not true. The only reason for a downward adjustment of the minimum wage of foreign domestic helpers in 2003 was an accumulated effect of 3 years since 2000, when the economy of Hong Kong was so bad that all working class had their wages reduced.
$400 were levied on the employer, so surely, it should be returned to the employer.
When they first imposed the tax, we have to remember that the government also deducted 400 Hong Kong dollar from domestic helpers. So if they abolish the tax, then it's only fair that the government raise the minimum wage of the domestic helper to another 400 to compensate what they have deducted in the past.
The chairman of the Domestic Helpers Support Organization suggests a split.
The employer, again, say, why I have to pay that levy? Domestic helper also want to increase the salaries. They think the 400 is belong to them. And that 400 cash sharing, the The maid can increase the salary around 200. The employer can save that 200.
But if it were up to the employer, John Wong says even if the levy is scrapped, he won't give Ari a raise.
The salary of the overseas domestic helpers in Hong Kong is really higher compared with that in the other country. In Macau, the domestic helper is only $2,500. Singapore, the salary is only $1,500.
And he wants more.
I think the government should also pay us back the levy we have paid before.